Welcome back to the Mulligan's Method podcast. Last time we had Gillian on board. This time we have Catherine, and I'm going to get you, Catherine, to introduce yourself to everybody. Just a little bit about who you are prior to joining the Mulligan's Method, what position you're kind of in, so people kind of understand your struggles. Again, same as I said at the start of the last one, I don't want this to sell the program. It's more so just so people can relate to you and you can get the opportunity to help people out the same way as I do online, the same way as everyone else kind of posts videos online. It's good to get people who have just recently been through the journey or are still going through it and facing struggles and have things that they've overcome. So I think that that's one of the main things. So fire ahead there. Let's hear it.
Okay, so I'm Catherine. I'm one of the OGs. I joined on May the 13th. So Oisin's had me on board. He's had to put up with me for quite a long time now. So when I joined the group, I was already on, I joined in the May. I'd followed you, Oisin, since January. And you'd been recommended to me by himself. He was like, you've got to get off this Slimming World shit and like get real, see this guy, have a look at this guy. And the first ever video or reel of yours I saw was the chocolate one.
Oh, yes.
And I'm not even a chocolate person, but I was like, that's not true. And like straight, I was like, oh fuck, it's true. Okay, so I had joined a gym at that point. I'd found a sort of love for the gym at that point, but I was also in a hugely toxic relationship with the scales. So I had joined Slimming World for maybe the 15th, 16th time, maybe. I lost maybe close to 2 stone on it. And I can go into how I was doing that because it certainly wasn't sort of sticking to their diet. I'd done it primarily because the December before I joined in the May, I was going to New York with my sons for a holiday of a lifetime. And for some reason, the main priority on my hit list for our holiday of a lifetime was for me to look okay on the photos. And when I look back, that's why I was doing it. So I'm really annoyed with myself about that because when I was out there, I was just sort of, no, I can't, you eat that and I'll just have a bite of it because I was thinking, I've got to go on the scales. And my scale relationship for years on and off Slimming World has been, I get up. Well, I would get up. First thing I would do is weigh. I go for a week, come back and weigh. Right. Oh, it's gone down a bit. No, it hasn't changed. Right. That would then determine what I would have for breakfast. So whether I would try and sort of starve myself perhaps with a boiled egg or something, or I can maybe have some toast today. Right. Okay. Then I would weigh after breakfast. And then I would weigh before lunch. And then I would weigh after lunch. And then I would weigh before dinner. And after dinner and before bed. It absolutely ruled me. So it came to the point in that January where I came back and, people were saying to me, this is insane that you were just, your holiday, your big holiday, Christmas, New Year was all hinging on, what's she going to say when I go back to Slimming World? It didn't help that the woman at Slimming World, she was one of the popular girls in school, and she was always lovely. I'm not gonna go there. She was always very nice to me as a kid in school. She was nice to me, but there she was in this fucking Slimming World class, and every Saturday morning I would go to the 7 a.m. one because obviously I could wait straight away. I would walk in, I'd be dropping my books, I would be right back in school. So not only was I having that scale thing of shit, I'm in the queue, is it going to go up, is it going to go down? Even though my scales would probably give me a good idea, I'd be like, oh, there she is. I'd be like, it's her from school, which is all on me. That's me taking that forward. But yeah, so always struggled with my weight, always yo-yo dieted. I've tried every diet under the sun. Of course we do okay on it, don't we? So they work. But then, oh God, it's gone back on. How's that? So yeah, this has just given me a complete new lease of life. So I ditched it when I started following you. Ditched Slimming World. Haven't weighed since. Well, that's a lie. I weighed when I joined the gym in October, and I asked them to keep it to themselves, explain why. They were absolutely fine with that. They said if I want to weigh in, they'll happily weigh me. But if there's a result, what I quite liked about them, because this was like October time, so I was well into the method by then. Sounds
Yeah.
like a cult.
Everybody's going to think it is as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Everybody that's in there is so crazy about it. It's so funny.
Yeah, they said like if you want to weigh every 6 weeks and we tell you your weight's gone up or down, don't rely on that. So I quite like that, because obviously
Yeah.
we are like, yeah, don't worry about the scales. And yeah, and when I sort of turned 50 last year, I just thought, yeah, come on, time is absolutely flying by now, and I just want to be fitter and stronger, really, and
Yeah.
just look better. But yeah, that's basically my backstory, which is probably about 10 minutes longer than you wanted it to be.
No, 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 that's perfect because I think people will really relate to a lot in that, and even from that, now have loads of questions for you, like the stuff with the Slim World side things. Like I would have known that you're in Slim World, but not to the extent of how bad it was when you were in there. But one of the things I want to touch on with you is the constant weighing and how this is a success story. So like maybe that's what the podcast should be is success stories from here, and everybody having different routes to success and different things that they're doing in order to be successful weight loss, because it's about finding what works for you. And yours is success without the weighing scales. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on here, is that we didn't require it to be able to see whether you were making progress, or we didn't require it to actually check and see that we're improving that relationship with ourselves or relationship with food. They're kind of just the main focus that we were putting on, is being able to incorporate foods that we do enjoy. You still track your calories, you're still looking at protein intake, you're looking at your measurements, which I think is absolutely brilliant, but you fucked off the scales because you realized it was a negative. But so many people feel like that if they're on a weight loss journey, they have to use the scales, they need to use it. So what was the turning point for you, or was there recognition that when you were stepping on, I don't know if recognition is a thing, but
It
when
is
did you
now.
recognize I made it up, it's Liam Mulligan's term. When did you figure out it was negative to be stepping on the scales all of the time, to be stepping on the scales? Because when did that become really apparent? Because there's probably people listening to this podcast that are experiencing that right now and not realize it.
I knew a long, long time ago, and I certainly knew that I don't want to give anybody any unhealthy hints here, but what was working for me was if on a Friday night I didn't have dinner, but I had a bottle of wine and a couple of drinks, the scales would go down on the Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And I had not our friend from school, another Slimming World woman told me, if you just eat protein on a Friday, if you avoid carbs altogether, you will have a much better weigh-in experience on the next day. I mean, it's all fucked up. So
Yeah.
I knew. And when I was living with my parents, my mother used to hide the scales because she used to see me on and off it. She'd be like, that's just not, it's not healthy. But I just couldn't, but at the end of the day, it wasn't getting me anywhere because I wasn't losing weight. I was just torturing myself constantly and thinking, well, how's that gone up today then? Because I only, I didn't eat any bread yesterday.
I can
It's years and years and years of utterly toxic
I can
diet culture.
I can imagine that cycle as well, is because when you were drinking at the week or the Friday before stepping on scales on the Saturday to be down in weight, what would have happened is that release of the hormone aldosterone, you release then water, and that means the water weight comes down more so than body fat, but the scales
All
go up,
right.
which is the main thing. But the reason that's so negative for you is because then that water weight is going to come back on. So the water weight's going to come back on Sunday or Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and you'll start holding on to a little bit more water, and that's where you'll start getting really negative in your mindset and start hating yourself. And then this is where the chronic dieting comes in, where you start starving yourself even more, but you don't realize that it's just water weight that you lost initially and actually water weight that you put back on. And that's where it's so dangerous, when you don't actually fully understand the scales. When it comes to the scale side of things then as well, if the situation that people are feeling similar to you, like what would be your advice for them to do? Is it the same as you, tell the scales to fuck off, or how did they get rid of the scales? Do they not just buy one, or what was the thing that you did to help get rid of that altogether?
I did go cold turkey, and it was difficult, particularly if, as I was transitioning into that sort of mindset of having a takeaway once a week is not going to put half a stone on me. If I would have something like that, or a day out or whatever, the first thing would be on my mind is I wonder what sort of damage that's done. But to be honest with you, it was quite quick, considering how bad it was and how long I'd been like that, sort of weighing 5 or 6 times a day. I would say it was very liberating, very very quickly for me. I'm not saying this like that for everybody, because I understand more than anyone. And I know it's difficult for me when I see posts in the group where people are saying I'm really struggling with the scales. I feel a little bit reticent to sort of get involved and say, oh, well, don't weigh that, because I think, well, that's what works for me. And I know how important that number is for so many people.
Yeah.
But I know, I don't know how many other people don't weigh. I might be the only one who just measures. I'm not sure. But I know some people are sort of stepping away, maybe weighing once a month. I've been there, and I understand that is that number that drives you, and you see it goes up. But when people put the graphs in, I'm blown away by that, because it's not linear. It's never going to be linear. A proper weight loss, decent, healthy weight loss, is never going to go bang. That's totally unhealthy, and we know this. So when we see that, but we kind of forget about this part when we have this tiny little part going here. I would just say, maybe I always direct them to you anyway. I say, look, I don't actually weigh. I measure. This is this. Maybe speak to Sheen and see what he would suggest, because maybe, I don't know whether you would suggest giving yourself a certain amount of time, maybe a week or a month, and see if you feel better. But it's certainly important to measure. I can tell by my clothes when I've put weight on and when I've lost. But it's crucial to have some sort of, for your own sake, to think, right, yeah, okay, I can see that's gone up or down.
Yeah, and I spoke to Ethan Suples, so you're the guy who was in My Name Is Earl, about this. And sometimes stepping on the scales actually points you out what you haven't done, and sometimes that's actually a positive, because then it's like, oh fuck, you actually haven't done these sorts of things. But when you step on the scales and you know you have been putting in the work, that sometimes throws people off, and that's where it is negative, and that's where it's important to recognize the difference between those two things. So as you said, like, this is what I love about the group. Number one thing I love about the group is everybody has their opinions within the group. There's loads of different people in there, and none of the opinions kind of are against science. They're all kind of just what has worked for them. And then everybody kind of chimes in of like, you could try this, you could try this, you could try this. And nobody kind of says, you have to do this. It's like, give this a go. This is what's worked for me. And I think that's what's unbelievable. And I think having people, because one of the questions I actually have written down for you is like, how do you manage being in the group when other people are checking their weight? Do you find that that's quite difficult? But I think one thing for you to recognize here as well, and only something I'm after thinking, is when it comes to, Catherine, maintaining your weight and maintaining the progress that you've made, you're probably going to find it a lot easier than a lot of others. Because for me, even maintaining my weight, I don't really check my weight when I'm trying to maintain my weight. I just kind of continue on. I don't worry too much. But I feel like when you're pulling back from the scales after tracking them for so long, that can be a fearful thing. But also, the main reason why 99% of people actually give up is because of the scale weight going up, and that thing, as you said, of looking at the averages rather than day to day. So your successful chance of maintaining the weight loss that you've had and maintaining your good habits, as in getting up and going to the gym and doing your hikes like you did today, like shit like that, you'll keep up forever, because there's nothing that can randomly spike up when you're doing everything right that's going to frustrate you and make you give up altogether. And that's where most people fail, is this, they've been doing so hard, or so much hard work, been getting out and getting their walks in, looking after nutrition, they step on the scales and they allow that to dictate whether they've done good or done bad, and then they either give up or else they drop their calories even lower, and then what happens is their weight comes back up again and they start feeling like a failure and give up altogether. But I think that's one fucking key thing, even touching on here in the podcast, that's going to help out so many people.
And I understand that the measuring tape isn't linear either. I can, after holidays, I've had huge centimeters, but for me, I understand what a centimeter is, but for me, it's just not the same impact as a scale
Yeah.
pound or half a stone. It's just not the same. I know it's going to go. I can feel it in my clothes. I know I'm gonna, that tape's going to go out a bit, but then I know equally, if I have a focus week, it can almost be off within a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have to do something, and don't shout at me, because I promised Joe I'd have a smug drink.
That's unreal. And this goes to show moderation. For anyone who's listening, there's people listening as well. She just had a drink of her glass of wine. Celebrations. What are you celebrating?
Just my big hike today. Joe Rogers was like, "You better have a smug beer tonight." I said, "Well, I've got no beer there. I've got wine though." So,
what distance is the hike?
it was a 6 mile, but it was quite. It was to the highest peak on Madeira, so it was hard, and the weather was just absolutely atrocious. So going down, it was really slippery, and when we were coming up, there was 1,721 stairs to climb in all, not all at the same time. I wouldn't be here.
overall. Yeah, fuck. And this is actually another thing, and again another question that I'd written down. It just happened to come up was about the forms of exercise. Like again, you're hiking is a form of movement, and it's something that I try and stay away from is the word exercise for a lot of people and a lot of time because it's like that toxic word. It's the same as diet is really toxic to a lot of people. They hear it and they're like, oh fuck. But movement is a better word for it because any form of movement is going to benefit our health. And I think hiking is something that you've been really good at and putting up in a group, even getting other people to do it. Like I think Joe hiked a couple of times after she seen your post initially.
Well, I think Jo actually has done. She's done Cairngorm before, I know, but yeah, I think I don't know if people have done it because of me, but there's certainly been. The thing is, you're blessed in Ireland with the hikes, so apart from that fucking
Crow Patrick.
Crow Patrick.
Yeah, fuck. Anyone listening, do not go near Crow Patrick for a fucking climb. Jesus Christ, you'll nearly die.
That thing, that bloody thing.
Even for me.
Oh, hideous, hideous. Yeah, but like today, when I was doing that today, because it was a peak to peak hike, it wasn't a circular. You get to a point, especially when it was just the weather was just so awful, and it was making it so difficult, and the inclines were horrific. You just want to think, oh, just someone come and pick me up. But because it's peak to peak, you've got to finish it. You've got to. It's not a circular. I can't think right. I'm going back.
Yeah.
And it drives home to me that hiking for me on the inclines, well, on the declines today actually, is kind of unpleasant, but it's a step. Each step, and I'm only going to get to the end point if I take that step. And I was the last one to finish out of our group, and I knew I would because when I rocked up, they were all like in their 20s, all
Hiking gear and the whole lot.
Yeah, they were all like good to go, and obviously hike every day of the week. But I thought, well, yeah, that's their story. That's fine. But I still wasn't late. I wasn't late. I was just the last one back, and I just thought, yeah, I've done it. I've done it, and that's the hardest. Although I did fail at Crow Patrick. I did. I didn't finish Crow Patrick.
We'll go back and attack that one together the next time.
That bastard. I wouldn't wish that on you.
2 questions from that, right? First of all, with the kind of hiking, why? Why do you hike? Why? What? Because a lot of people will ask
it's
that.
The views. If I'm honest with you, the views most of the time is to get up there. It's to improve my stamina because it takes. I remember when I was doing Crow Patrick actually, there was a group of young lads sort of sitting there on the side, and they were like, "Fuck, we go to the gym 4 times a week. What the fuck?" It's a whole different level of mindset to hike. So I'd sort of always done sort of mountains in Wales and one thing and another. Then it sort of fell off, and then I met up with someone who was keen hiker. So I was like, yeah, okay, got me back into it a bit. But I tell you what, if you're not doing it regularly, it just drops off. It's just so difficult, yeah. But it's for me, it's absolutely the achievement. And the second I saw that Philippe today in his grey minivan in the car park, I was like, fucking hell, I have never been so happy to see a man in a grey minivan in my life.
A dodgy character by the sounds of him.
But the thing is, well, yeah, he was, well, we won't go there. That's a story for another day. It's weird because I'm like dying. And the second I get to the top, I'm like, it's mad. I'm fine. And then when I get to the end, I'm fine. My mindset with it does need a lot of work as well as the fitness side.
The main reason I asked that question is because I don't think you'd get up and hike if the focus was just fat loss. Like if you were just doing it for the sake of just getting up that mountain because you're going to sweat and you're going to lose loads of fat. And I think that's one of the key things within your journey as well. Is I don't think I've ever heard, even since the very beginning, that I'm doing this for the sake of fat loss. I'm doing this for the sake of that. Like you've always been doing things for the sake of getting stronger, hiking. Even that's not a question that I've ever asked you, even in your check-ins and stuff within the group. That's why I kind of want to know, what is the motivation behind you getting a hike? Because I know if I went to go for a hike, because I don't really have anything that I enjoy about it, I just wouldn't probably fucking get up and do it. And if I was doing it for the sake of fat loss, I'd stay in bed. I think so many people probably fall into that trap with any form of movement or exercise that they do. And it's hiking and running and stuff like that for a lot of people is like, I'll go up this mountain because it's great for fat loss and it'll make me sweat loads, which again isn't the case because you don't really burn a huge amount of calories through fat loss. The second question I had for you, Catherine, on that was, so similar to the gym situation. If someone's going to the gym for the first time and they're like, "Fuck, I'm miles behind everybody else," or "This is really difficult," or "Everybody else here is so much fitter than me, has all their gear ready, and I have none of this." How do you deal with that in the hiking aspect that might help someone deal with maybe going to the gym for the first time, or trying out a new form of exercise, or going to a new class?
For going to the gym. Right, absolutely. What I would do and what I did, because I went from going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, loving it, having absolutely no problem. Then I moved to Cardiff, and there was this big shiny gym where there were all these young people there, and I was like, shit, yeah, it set me right back, as you know.
Yeah.
But what I did was I phoned the gym and I said, look, I said, I can't believe I'm saying this because I really enjoy the strength training in the gym and everything. I said, but I'm just really nervous. I said, I don't even know if he was nervous. I said, it's just like I want to come, but I don't know how to approach it. So I
Yeah.
phoned them. They booked me in. They said, don't come in your gym gear. Don't just come in. We'll have a walk around. We'll explain everything to you, show you everything. They did that. They said all the right things, to be fair. They said everything. There was none of this sort of unrealistic expectation of, oh, should be doing this, you should be doing that. They were more or less saying, as long as you do some form of movement, 3-4 times a week, at least half an hour, get your heart rate going a bit, strength. They showed me the strength training. That made me feel better. They introduced me to some of the regulars that were in there who were like super kind. In the free weights section, I was like, oh my God, look at those blokes there. And they were, when I went after that, then one of the guys, it wasn't one of the guys who was in there when I went in, but he came over, and it was when I was doing the lat pull down. He said, you just need to be pulling back a little bit more.
Yeah.
And my God, that doesn't, but thank you. Do you know what I mean? Am I going to sit there doing it wrong? Or is someone just going to say, if I were you, less weight? You said, you're pulling really heavy there, less weight, back. And I just thought, you'd be surprised. But I would definitely give your gym a call, be completely upfront and say, I don't really know what to expect. I don't know what it's going to be like. And I guarantee that they'll say, come on in, we'll have a chat, we'll show you around. And they didn't even want me to go and do a class, enroll, anything. They just said, come in, your everyday clothes, have a walk around, see if you feel like it, and then join if that's what you want. So I did join. I don't go enough because I do still get intimidated. But being out here now in Madeira this week is definitely, I can feel I want to get back. I need to get back.
Again, it's that process as it takes time to get used to a new gym. Even for me, if I'm traveling, even there in New York where I was, when I went to that new jiu-jitsu gym, I was shitting myself. I was ringing and texting my coach beforehand being like, is this okay? And nobody would think that. Like, I'm a personal trainer for 5 years and I still shit myself every single time like going to the gym. And I've been going to the gym for what, like, at this stage, probably close to 10 years, and every single time, no matter where it is, what it is, even when I'm over in England doing the meetups with E and I go to a new gym, I might go with Sam or Emmeline or whoever, and I'll still feel nervous. And I think knowing that nervousness is normal and that anxiousness is normal, a lot of it is actually just a fear of doing something wrong for some people and fear of other people in there. But I think that story that you said there about your man helping you out with the lap pull down, I remember that because you actually said that in a check-in. It was one of the things I was like, thank fuck someone, because someone like that spoke to you, because sometimes in the gym you can get the ratty arseholes, and again, everywhere you go in life there's ratty arseholes, there's fucking cunts everywhere, and there's really, really nice people as well. Actually, in the gym, probably more percentage of nice people than anywhere else. And the reason that is because a lot of people that go to the gym are quite insecure. They wouldn't be happy with the way their body looks, and especially the big bodybuilder looking lads or the big powerlifting looking lads. Generally, most of them go there for one, their mental health, or second of all, to try and improve that way that they look. And the reason they're improving the way that they look is because they're not confident in themselves. So them being kinder, you can ask them questions, they'll more than likely help you out. The only thing is, how would you recommend approaching the situation for someone? So for me as a personal trainer, I actually don't even know the answer to this question. What helped you with the way he approached you in comparison to maybe someone else that might come over and be like, you're wrong, you're doing this, or whatever? What way helped?
In life, there's always going to be people who can be arses, and that how we deal with that is up to us, I suppose. As for the gym, I think the key thing is to find something that you want to do, because when I always said I hate the gym, I hate the gym, I hate the gym, it's because I was told, yeah, you get on a treadmill and try and run for half an hour, and then you want to stairmaster that fucking thing as well. That's like that mini Croag Patrick. Get on that for like half an hour. I mean, fun for some, not for me. That's hell.
Fuck that.
And when I joined the gym last January, I started doing like that kind of thing, and then I was like, oh, this, because I was a ladies' gym. The strength training part was largely quite empty at that time, so I thought I'd just have a little go. And the results, that I thought, I really enjoy this. I like this, and they were really helpful. But it's key just to find something. I think a lot of people think, I've got to join a gym. I've got to join a gym. And do you know what? Sometimes the gym just is not the place for you. And sometimes you haven't. I've got a friend with 2 little ones, and I'm like, please don't think you've got to try and join the gym. Dance with the girls in the kitchen, put a couple of songs every day, and that's your movement done. There's so much emphasis put on, oh, I've got to get to the gym, and
Yeah.
but that's just something I enjoy. As for classes, like my gym, I realise they're all different. Mine offers a lift class, so it sort of introduces you to how to lift safely and what you want to get out of the lifting. Definitely check out the classes. Most gyms these days do all sorts of classes, even if it's down to, I mean, you think Pilates isn't, you think, oh, Pilates, that was hard. We'll be doing that again.
But it's
I
the
was
same,
like,
you're not afraid to
oh,
try new things.
yeah, it's like, oh, I'm going to take it easy today, go to Pilates. I came out today, my God, it's like I've been run over. It's crazy. But yeah,
Reformist Pilates
find
is
what you
pretty
like.
fucking crazy as well. I've never tried Reformist Pilates, but it's meant to be nuts too.
Oh, no, that's enough for me, thank you. Yeah, find something in the movement that you like doing.
Yeah.
And then just, again, if you remember, I stripped back my goals for myself because I was like, got to get back to 4 or 5 times a week, got to get back to 4 or 5 times a week. And Porrick was on my check-in last week, and I sort of said to him, I'd had a setback where it was like, oh, I felt really intimidated in the gym. And in my goal, I put strength training once this week, and he said, that's absolutely perfect. Don't think, oh, I got to get back in there now, like every day, because you just put it piling so much pressure on yourself. And then when you don't go 4 or 5 times a week, you're like, fuck,
Yeah.
I can't even go. Because my gym is across the road. It's 1 minute walk, so
Yeah.
I've got absolutely no excuse not to get there.
We're also self-critical. That's the important part with the weight loss journeys to kind of have an idea of as well on yourself, because so many people that have extra weight on them or that have struggled with their weight in the past, they're so used to putting people first and so used to putting themselves last that it's easy to be self-critical. So any opportunity that you give yourself to be self-critical, like setting yourself high expectations of I have to go to the gym 7 times a week, or setting high expectations of I have to go for a half an hour run, or I have to do it in this time, or I have to do this form of exercise, I have to do this. All these have tos, the more then we build up and the more we make them unachievable, the more we're going to beat ourselves up over not achieving them, because we're very fucking good at that. So many people are very fucking good at that. Generally, the people that are struggling with the weight are probably the best with that, because in so many situations they're telling themselves that they're shit, they're not good enough, they can't do this, I'm fat, and then in turn that cycle turns to turning to food to cope with a lot of that side of things. And I think just highlighting there of like the simple steps that you're taking to go to the gym, or even simple steps regards to trying new exercise like your Pilates, or trying the hiking, or trying your I love the face you pulled that when I mentioned that. It still scares you to this day. Uh, and the gym sessions like the lifting classes and stuff like that I think is unreal. And not a lot of gyms are like that. Like some gyms that you would go into probably wouldn't care if you rang them and was like, oh, just go ring someone else. The best gyms that I find is generally hotel gyms, because they're a lot more quiet, they're leisure centres, not a huge amount of people go, and generally your membership means a lot to them. Or local gyms that are quite small,
Yeah,
that are kind of privately owned, and ringing them up, the member, they want you to become a member over time. So obviously they're going to show you around the gym, try and make you feel as comfortable as possible,
yeah,
probably introduce you to many of the members. I think actually that's probably one of the best thing that's happened throughout that kind of thing that you're talking about there of getting introduced to the gym, was them speaking to other members when you're there and introducing you to them, because it makes you feel like part of that family.
yeah. It was definitely that, and they were chatting, and they knew them. They knew them by name. They were like, "Oh, good to see you." Or he comes in usually on a Friday, or she's usually on a Sunday afternoon, or she's a nurse, and so they take an interest in their clients. But another thing I would say to somebody who's sort of, well, I really do enjoy the gym, and I'd like to do this class, but I don't really, I don't really know how to get into it. I would say, bite the bullet, go in. Before you go in, write down how you feel about it. And then when you come out, write down how you feel about it and compare the two. And what would you rather? Would you rather be, oh, I think I'll just leave it and not go in, or I feel so much better. I feel like I've accomplished it. Great. That's another little tip I would say.
I think that's one of the better ones as well, because that's always something you can look back at on a day that you don't want to go, or a day that you're sat at home, you're really, really exhausted. Look at the piece of paper of how you felt before you went, and how you went after. A lot of people would say to me, Oisin, I was too tired to go, and even time to go and do this. And in some situations, perfectly fine. Like 100%, it's normal to feel tired from time to time, normal to be exhausted. But sometimes it's also a thing of, we actually don't realize that some forms of exercise actually give us back energy afterwards. Now, a 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour hike here, not going to give you back energy. Of course, you'll be fucking tired after it. But simple things like coming home from a day's work, getting out for a 5 minute walk is always going to give you back more energy than it takes away. You'll always just feel much better. Even before this podcast, when I was sending you the voice note, sure, I was out on a walk because I was like, oh, I'm fucking feeling exhausted. And I feel much better now after got out, drank a bit of water. And it's the same for yourself. But in that exercise side of things, I think one of the major areas that you're really good at, and actually through the group at the beginning, one of the biggest downfalls of the group was the comparison aspect. So was
Oh
that
yeah.
everybody was kind of comparing to each other, and since I've done my very, very best to remove as much of that as possible by bringing the check-ins private, so nobody sees check-ins unless you want to share your check-in across. And I was hoping that would help with the scale weight side of things as well, because people would compare, this person's losing this much weight, this person's losing this much weight, or this person's much fitter than me. Even there with the hiking, you're talking about these guys, you look at them, you're like, oh fuck, they have all the gear, and I'm coming in last year. How do you stop that comparison? Because I think we all compare. How do you stop that comparison from impacting your progress or impacting your ability to go and do the hike in the first place, or go to the gym when there's other people in there that are lifting much heavier than you, whatever? How do you, hard question, because maybe you don't know, and that's fine too, but how do you stop yourself from giving up in that situation?
I just, a couple of times this week, I've had sort of things where I've sort of had a knockback with my confidence and whatever. And I've thought, and you've really just got to sort of pick it apart really and think, well, hang on, how did I feel before that happened? How did I feel after that happened? I'm not, I'm almost 51 years of age. I can't compare myself to everybody in Philippe's van
Yeah.
who are in their 20s. I can't, because there's just absolutely no point. And I say that there were a couple up there today, and they must have been late 70s, 80s, and they flew past everybody. You could see they were seasoned hikers, and I think they were local. And the same on Croagh Patrick. There was an 82-year-old guy I was chatting to there, and he does it every Sunday. And that's another thing, is consistency. Every Sunday, he said, yeah, I do this every Sunday. Have done for like forever and a day. Because I know for a lot of people it is a spiritual thing, isn't it? But he said, yeah, and she was like a little mountain goat going up there, and I was really like, oh my god,
Points at the top, I'd say he fetched
yeah,
was as well, the fucker. 100%.
halfway,
Yeah, the top and the bottom. He brought points
yeah,
up with him for the top and points for the bottom.
at the bottom
And you
definitely was
met him at
really
the
good.
bottom for some as
There's
well.
a really good pint of Guinness at the bottom of the coat. I can tell you that much. But
It's just the comparison thing is a funny one as well, because as you're saying there,
it's
like your
hard.
comparison, most people are comparing where their start point is to someone's midpoint, or to someone's end point, or to someone's that have been consistent for 2 or 3 years. That side of things isn't helpful, because again, it's only going to hold you back. And the more you recognize that, then you'll come to realize, rather than seeing the thing as a negative comparison, start looking at it as a positive. Oh, I can achieve this if I put in this same amount of time as someone else. Then also there is the factor of like age and different responsibilities and different things to be at. Like I always talk about it to you guys as well when it comes to the Zoom calls or whatever. And like my job allows me to look after my nutrition a lot easier, allows me to have less weight fluctuations, because first of all, I look at nutrition for everybody all of the time, 24/7. So I'm more aware of nutrition. I'm sat at home, I'm living in my home house. It's easier for me to look after my nutrition because I have less worries. I don't have any kids, I don't have any children. I'm not over 30 or 40 where I have loads of bills and mortgages or whatever to worry about. So my stress is a lot lower. That's going to increase with time. It's going to get more difficult for me. But if I'm comparing me at 50 to me at 20, or for you, if you're comparing people who are in the back of Philippe's van who are 20 years old, they have a lot less say responsibilities, a lot easier for them to stay consistent with hiking, and therefore it'd be only fucking normal if they're a little bit ahead of you. And it's not using that as an excuse either. It's like, that's a genuine thing. People will say, oh, you have the same 24 hours in a day. That's a load of bollocks as well. Everybody is so completely different. And even things of like genetically different, like people have different types of muscle fibers, type 1 and type 2. Type 1, I do believe, is slow twitch muscle fiber. So people who go on long distance hikes, marathon running, and different things like that have more type 1 fibers, which allow them to do that a little bit better. Some people will be born with more type 2 fibers, which will allow them to throw things harder or punch people harder or do whatever. Depends what sort of sport they're in. That's why I said punch people harder. Just think.
Or what sort of mood they're in, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So all these things impact them. So when you're comparing like two completely fucking things. It'd be like comparing an apple to an orange, or a fucking orange to a car outside, and saying the difference between the two of them. So I think that that's one key thing that a lot of people struggle with, and good to touch on as well for them. Which is good. I have another really good question for you.
Oh God.
Actually, you're going to get annoyed at me with this one. Well, not really. It's just a hard one to answer. Emotional eating, right? Emotionally, let's have a discussion. First of all, struggles with it. Have you struggled? Do you find it difficult? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because all of the check-ins and stuff, I went back through and trying to get a couple of things that are really good for you to speak on, because I think you've been through a lot of it, and especially say before Christmas, or as you said around November time, would have been even a bigger struggle. How have you dealt with emotional eating, or what is the recommendations to people maybe, or things that you've been through with regards to emotional eating?
Okay, so I would have to at this point credit Emmeline when she sort of helped me, because I reached out to her, or she actually picked up on something, maybe, I can't remember, where I said, I'm binge eating, I can't stop binge eating. And she was like, right, stop. You're not binge eating, for a start. You're dealing with your emotions by eating too much on one particular day. And there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
I've always sort of rewarded myself with food and maybe drink. And I've always comforted myself with food and drink. If I've had a really good day, it'd be like, oh, right, yeah, what can I have tonight? And then sometimes it gets to the point where you think, well, yeah, I'm really full after that pizza, but what else can I have? It's like a compulsion. I must have something more. And then I'll have the ice cream, and then, well, I may as well have a bottle of wine. Well, if I'm in it, I may as well just have everything else that's in the fridge now, even though I'm full and I don't need it, but I'm feeling so much better eating all this. And then it's like, oh, I feel like shit now. So I think a key thing definitely was Emmeline saying, it's not binge eating, it's emotional eating. And she gave me a few sort of pointers of how do you feel after you've eaten. Try and think forward. How will I feel? What do I, from habit, I know I'm not going to be very happy with myself. And I've also sort of given myself some little challenges, like maybe to do something else. I know in my goal setting, there was just things like learn the piano, things like that. Just try and occupy, instead of occupying my hands putting food in, and with that, which I blame Jo Rogers for that, because she said
it's allowed, you deserve
it. It's sanctioned. I think it's habit as well. And it's just getting out of that sort of Friday night. Like Friday night, I would always, not just for the Slimming World thing, it'd be like Friday night, right, a bottle of wine and a pizza now. And then sometimes I'd be there having the wine and the pizza, and I'd be like, this was so mindless, because I didn't even think, do I fancy that? And I have reached that stage now. Like I bought, this is a proud moment. I bought this bottle of wine Saturday night when I arrived, and I've opened it tonight. So old Kath would have been like, well, the wine's there, better drink it. And it's like, well, I don't really fancy it. I'll have it Thursday night after my hike. That's fine,
right.
Yeah. So it's a very difficult.
Yeah.
The emotional eating, and I think a lot of us do it, whether we want to admit it or not. A lot of us reach, whether it's biscuits. I'm not a chocolatey person, but definitely ice cream, though. I'm straight in the Ben and Jerry's if I've had a bad day.
I fucking love ice cream too.
Especially if Tesco Club Card are doing an offer on it. You know what I mean?
Because otherwise it's like fucking €12 for a tub.
Yeah, or you can stick that. I know, I'll just get some walls.
Yeah.
But no, if Ben and Jerry's or Haagen-Dazs is on offer in Tesco Express, I'm in there like a rat up a drain pipe. But it's just have a little bit. Yeah. If you think, do you know, I really fancy a bit of ice cream, it's not going to be the end of the world. don't eat the tub.
Yeah. What
Once
was
you've had a bottle
Emmeline had
of
that
wine.
saying. Emmeline has that saying as well. For anyone that doesn't know Emmeline Howard, if you want to find her somewhere, she has that saying. It's not. I can't remember, but my brain always.
You can eat anything, just not everything.
Yes, that's it. Perfectly. Better worded from Catherine, anyways. It sounds more eloquent coming out of your mouth than coming out of
Oh,
my
I wouldn't
fucking
say
mouth.
that.
Just used to all the bad language everybody is. The emotional eating side of things is so complicated, so complicated. I'm actually going starting a course for it at the moment as well, so I'm
Oh,
going to
okay.
be learning a lot more to help everybody out and help a lot more of you guys out. And I'm always trying to learn bits and pieces here and there. But one of the main things I think, from emotional eating, and it relates to a lot of stuff. It's not just emotional eating, is the catastrophe of this is emotional eating, or the catastrophe of binge eating was the catastrophe first, as you were talking about there. When we put a label on something like binge eating, it almost becomes bad and it's an evil thing. We've done this is shitty. Remove that altogether, because if we remove the emotion from it and actually just look at it logically, what have you done? Logically, you've eaten more food than what you maybe usually do, or what you normally do in one day, you decide to eat in 2 days. That's fine. Again, you've just eaten more food or more calories. So break it down, logically break it down, rather than emotionally think about it. Emotionally thinking about it is saying, oh, I've binge it, I've fucked all this up, and this is ruined, that's ruined. That leads to further binge eating, because generally binge eating is connected to our emotions. So I actually don't like to say the term binge eating. Same when it comes to stuff like depression or anxiety, things like that. I would be of the mind of telling people that they have depression, telling people that they have anxiety, is something that is going to cause you to have even more of that and actually feel like that you can't solve that problem or that you can't get out of it. Same when I was in a really bad situation maybe 2 years ago. I felt like I couldn't leave my bedroom. If I went to the doctor, they would have told me I had depression. If I went to the doctor, they would have told me I had anxiety. It would have been very hard for me to move away from that, because I've been diagnosed with it. So when people are diagnosed with the binge eating disorder, or actually say that I am a binger, I binge all the time, you're giving yourself that title. You slowly become that person, and then it makes binging more regular because you're upset at yourself, and this is what happens. And also for some people, it's almost the excuse, I have a binge eating disorder, so I binge. Not for everybody, but for a small percentage,
Mm.
be the case. So to remove that is super important. And as you said, bring it down to the emotional eating level is actually even looking at it in a more logical state as well. Because everybody emotionally eats. And this is what we need to realize as well. Everybody does it. It's fucking wired into us. When we eat food, dopamine is released. It causes us to feel better. It's quite literally in the fucking food. So when we eat it, what happens is we're going to feel better. And therefore, when you emotionally eat, that everybody does it. So when we see this and we realize everybody does it, then it removes the badness from it, and you actually realize, geez, I'm just a normal fucking human being. And then when it does happen, you're like, oh, this isn't that big of a deal. Because what causes further emotional eating and causes you to kind of overeat a shit ton is, one, that scarcity mindset, but second of all, also the thing of, I'm a bad person, I fucked this up, I've gone miles over my calories, I've gained a shit ton of weight. So logically thinking about it, you haven't, because you'd have to eat 10,000 calories over that. And logically thinking about it, you're a normal human being. It's normal to emotionally eat. However, when you start to recognize it, that's super important. So actually, people who say I emotionally eat are more self-aware and less likely to overeat to the point where they're gaining shit tons of fat, because you won't do that as long as you are somewhat emotionally aware about it. So that thing of like recognizing that you're emotionally eating, every time I see it in someone's check-in or someone says it, I'm like, all right, first step's already ticked off. You've already done the hard work, because you're recognizing it now. And
Yeah.
that's not that big of a deal then, because once you recognize it, then we can start implementing swaps. So a swap would be, instead of emotionally eating this time, it's going to happen from time to time, but I'm going to try my best to even write down how I'm feeling before that happens. So I'm going to try my best to get out and go for a walk instead. That doesn't work for some people. I'm going to set a 5-minute timer, because the point at which you're craving or that your binge is at the highest is generally that first moment that you feel it and you run to the press and people don't think. But now that we've taught and we know we emotionally eat, it's easier to get that timer on, and just 10 minutes I'm going to sit, and I'm going to sit with my emotions for a bit. If I still want it after, I'm going to have it. But that recognition of it is the hardest part, because so many people are so unconscious or unaware of their feelings and unaware of the way they eat food. MyFitnessPal or NutriCheck is brilliant at bringing that awareness to you. But the second we have that, that generally starts to eliminate emotional eating to a percentage. You'll never fully eliminate it. I still emotionally eat. Sam still emotionally eats. Emmeline still emotionally eats. And any coach who tells you that they've solved emotional eating is fucking lying straight to your face for the fact of bringing you in there and actually making you feel even worse. And this is why I think a huge thing that's coming out with social media recently is that emotional eating behavior, or solving that emotionally. You're never really going to solve it, because again, it is kind of wired into us. It's just looking that we're more aware of when it's happening, and then the swaps that we can put in place to help kind of mitigate it. So small steps like, okay, I might emotionally eat 7 times of the week now, and I'm recognizing that I'm doing that. Let's see if I can do it 6 times a week. Let's see if I can only do it 5 times this week. Or even as you said with regards to the food, is rather than say to yourself, I'm going to have it all, let's just have a small portion of it. And then look, if I really want more, I can add more in, but let's just start off with a small portion and write down how the small portion of the food makes you feel. Because super key as well is that scarcity mindset surrounding food is, I've already gone over my calories, so I may as well just eat all of the food now because I have to get back on track tomorrow. So I may as well just get rid of it all now so none of it's in the house. So I'll just eat it all because that's wasted. Emmeline also has a key phrase as well. I don't know if she got it from a podcast or somewhere, but anyways, if it's someone's term, not Emmeline, I do apologize. She said, the food is wasted whether you eat it or whether you don't. And the second she said that to me, I was like, fuck, that makes sense. Because I remember I was sitting
Yeah.
in a cafe eating this fucking cake and I was full. And I was like, fuck, I have to finish it because I paid for it. And she was like, no, you do not.
No.
Whether you eat it or you don't, it's a waste.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good.
Fucking.
I would suggest maybe as well, if you've got a weakness or something, like chocolate, for example. I mean, I don't know. I mean, everybody loves a Freddo, right?
Yeah.
If you have just maybe an emotionally eating part in your cupboard where you think, I'm just going to go to that part. And then once that's gone, that's my emotional eating done. And I can satisfy myself that I've done it, but then I haven't done any damage with a couple of Freddos or what, a small packet of mini cheddars or whatever. I mean, it's not the same as going in on it, but you don't get the guilt after anyway. And it comes back to the guilt as well. And what a huge thing that this group has done for me is just removing the guilt around everything food related. To be able to just eat sandwiches and not think, fuck, I need some bread. I never thought I'd be like that, never. And that came quite quickly off the back of joining this group. That came very, very quickly. If you have a takeaway one night, it's, the same as if you have a salad one lunchtime, you're not going to lose a shit ton of weight from that salad. So you're not going to put a shit ton of weight on from one meal. And it's just so nice not to be like, I shouldn't have had that. I shouldn't have. And it comes back to Sam. When Sam did that exercise of write things down about yourself, of how you would feel. Now say it to somebody that you love. And it's like, no, you just wouldn't. No. It's just so valuable to sort of flip it and think, well, no, it's just a bit of extra food. Just stop beating yourself up. It's all, it's
Funny one. It's so many people. So just for everyone listening, at the event in Dublin that we had, Sam got everybody. I think I might discuss this in Gillian's podcast, but I can't fully remember. But Sam just got everybody to write down on a piece of paper, all the things that they hate about themselves, or all things that are negative about themselves, and all this sort of stuff. And then you write down with your name in it. So I'm Oisin and I fucking hate this about me, and I am Oisin and I hate this, or whatever. I think he did it that sort of way. And then just replace your name with your daughter's name, your son's name, your mother's name, your father's name, whatever it might be. And then you look at it and you're like, holy fuck, the way I'm talking to myself here is absolutely nuts. And I think that was a big eye opener for people. Another big eye opener, actually, and I think you might have missed it, but it's one of the questions that I wanted to bring up to you, was the getting fit after 50 and getting fit before 50. And I think that that's a super key age to be involved in exercise, and a super key age to be involved in movement resistance training to try and build some sort of muscle mass. So Carl, I was speaking, there's fuck tons of names coming in here from everywhere. You don't need to know who these people are. If you want to find out who they are, they're all on my Instagram in some manner or form. But Sam or Carl was speaking at the event, and I think it was just after you'd left, and he was speaking about how and why women struggle with weight loss so much. And first of all, it's obviously all the diet history of all the diets that are promoted to them, all the magazines saying this person has put on 22 pounds and really impacting your body image from seeing that sort of stuff. But he was talking about how chronically dieting is normal for females, and a lot of women would chronically diet because of all these magazines and because of all these diets that they're subjected to, like Slimming World and stuff. And when you're chronically dieting, and especially on low calories and not resistance training, what's happening is you're actually losing muscle mass as well. So even in a calorie deficit, if you're just tracking your calories, you're eating enough calories. If you're not resistance training or not eating high protein, you're going to lose muscle mass. That's why it's so important to focus on your protein intake and focus on resistance training. And it's the only form of training I would try and push everyone towards. There's loads of different ways to do it, but I would always recommend everyone do it. But he was saying that that's why women's metabolisms are a lot slower, and that's why women really struggle with regards to menopause, and their symptoms are getting worse and worse and worse, and things are even harder for you. And it's because your muscle mass has dropped so fucking much. And so the thing is to stop chronically dieting and remove that and try get involved in resistance training. So as someone who is almost 51, and your page is absolutely brilliant, everybody here who's listening to the podcast, please go follow her over on Instagram. Get fit after 50 it is now. Yes.
Yeah.
I had it in my head for so long as before 50, or you changed it slightly. What was it before?
It was getting fit for 50,
Yes.
but obviously I set that up when I was joining Slimming World, and I was going to be fit and slim by the time I was 50. But so then I've since turned 50, so it's getting fit after 50 now.
So head over there, drop her a follow. It is unbelievable. And I think on your page as well, something that I'm going to push you to do over the next little while is definitely share more advice and tips that you have. Because again, Catherine, you have the knowledge of almost more than, well, actually, you have more knowledge than 99% of personal trainers I would come across, most of them. And because most of them have just done a 6 week course, you've been chronically dieting half of your life in the Mulligan's method, picking up as much as possible. And you're like a sponge picking up that nutrition knowledge to a point where you could easily coach people or help people as well. And whether that's just on videos on Instagram or whatever. But I think the question I have for you around that is your advice to someone who is coming up on 50, or someone who is 50, really struggling with their weight or the way that they look, and struggling with regards to maybe getting into the gym for the first time or resistance training. Anything at all goes, but I just think coming from you that advice is better received, and always better when you've experienced it. It's something that I always push in the Mulligan's method. That's why I want so many members in there with different things, is because when you meet someone that struggled with the same shit you have and have been through similar struggles or had similar diet history, it's easy for you to kind of come together, support each other, and also understand each other a lot more. Again, if someone was coming to you who has kids, is you're probably easier to be able to relate to them and give them better advice than I could, because I don't have kids. I'm always aware of that, and that's why I love having you guys here helping me out, and then within the Mulligan's method as well. But anyways, long-winded question. 50, before 50, after 50. Let's hear it.
Okay, so, and I speak from experience with this, and I think I just touched upon it. Much like the scales, it's a number, okay? So don't think, right, I mean, it's all fine to do, people do like a list for 50. I also did that, 50 things I want to do for 50. That never happened. And it's a number. Certainly aim for certain goals if you want to by that, but don't let it rule you as a number on a scales would rule you. You've touched upon how important strength training is to people over 50. I certainly, when I'm regularly strength training, I'm not only physically a different person, I'm mentally a different person. It's hugely beneficial in every way. Also, I follow a few over 50 accounts on Instagram, and they're in incredible shape. They dedicate a lot of time to getting fit and staying fit. And we have to circle back to the comparison thing. And what I do, I just, rather than compare myself to them, because I can't, because they're in the gym almost every day, and their life is to relay to everybody how to be fit at their age. I can't do that. But it's just take from there things that you can do. So don't think, well, I need to be, look at this, oh my gosh, she's 54 and she's doing these what the fuck, don't. It basically comes back to a comparison thing. But I would say, whilst I say it's just a number, do use it as a turning point of, okay, so as I did, I've had, I'd say, all my adult life in a toxic relationship with the scales and weight loss and different diets, trying them all. And I like to think I'm, a fairly intelligent person. At what point, when I'm joining a slimming club for the umpteenth time, does it not register with me? Yeah, this isn't a long-term solution. Do you know, this just isn't going to work. So don't try not to focus too much on that. I've got to get it done by 50, because that's exactly what I was doing, and that's why I initially set up my account. But you just use it as a strength, really, and say, do you know what? I'm 50. I'm getting out and doing this. I'm swimming. I'm doing this. I'm playing with my kids, or well, I haven't got grandkids, but maybe people at my age have grandkids. Boys, do not. If you see this, wait.
I'll clip this and stick it up on my Instagram story.
I am not ready to be a grandmother. Yeah, just whatever. It comes back to movement. It comes back to consistency. It comes back to not comparing yourself. And it comes back to saying, do you know what? I'm in my 50s and let's fucking go. Do you know what I mean? Excuse my French. I know you don't like swearing.
I think so many people get stuck in the thing, from what I see, anyways, is that I'm 50, it's too late. I'm 50, I can't do this.
I'm 50, I start. This is where I start. This is where I say, right. I mean, my boys are in their 20s now, so I don't have that thing of, oh, I've got, you know, I can't do it with the kids. I've got a demanding job. It's a difficult job, but it's also quite flexible, so I can work around it. If I've got if I'm waiting on a decision, I've got an hour spare, I can get out and get my steps up. And again, I enjoy that. It comes back to do something you enjoy. I know there's loads of people in the group who are like, do you know what? I do 2,000-3,000 steps a day. I'm perfectly fine. You know, great. That's 2,000-3,000 steps. That's still awesome. But yeah, so I haven't got the commitments sort of pulling me back from, oh, I haven't got time, because that would be, if ever I say that to you, I'm either on crack cocaine or I'm just talking total bullshit. I have got plenty of time. And I just want my sons, especially, like when I sent them, you know, the hike today, they were like, Mom, I could never do that. And it's so good to sort of be in the second half of my century, you know, when I've got my kids and my loved ones saying, do you know, oh, you've made me really proud today doing that. I wouldn't be going up there, going across that ledge and doing that. No way. So use it. Don't let it hold you back. Or if you get to 50, like, oh, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. Then fuck it, we'll do it at 51. Keep going. But definitely use it and say, do you know what? In my 50s.
Yeah. I think that mindset's just different. That mindset that you have there, and that a lot of people, I suppose, can adopt or should adopt, is that almost that reframing in of all the negatives to the positives. Of, I'm 50 now, I have a lot more or a lot less priorities, or a lot less responsibilities. Let's say I can push it on a little bit more, or I have this, or I have this set amount of time left, or my kids now, I want to start doing them proud. I want to show them that I'm doing things that they can't do, rather than be like, I'm 50, I'm more likely to get injured, or all this other stories that we create in our head, which actually aren't true, which so many people tell ourselves. But I think that mindset is going to leave you having a better next 50, rather than if you're telling yourself you can't do this, you can't. How miserable are you going to end up? Like, you may as well die at 50 then. At that stage, you may as well be
Yeah.
over and done. If you're thinking
Yeah.
that, most people may as well die at 30, because they're like, the
Yeah.
second I hit 30, I'm too old, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's that mindset,
Yeah.
and it's just switching that of, I can't do it. And do you know what's going to switch that is hearing people like you speaking from experience and being through it, rather than if I was sat here in a podcast and I was like, just get over it and just push on and try and do your best. People won't listen to that as much when they hear you. And even, I'm going to fucking show my mom that last just 2 minutes of that podcast. And the main reason is she doesn't need it either, because she's the same. She's the exact same mindset as you, and nothing can ever bring her down. It's always like, what can I do next, or how can I push on? And it's that positive mindset that's so fucking good. I've never met someone to speak as similar as my mom as you just have there. And that's what I'm going to show it to her.
Oh, that's an honour.
Sick.
We love Mum.
Unreal. That's all the questions I had for you. I did the Gillian. I'll do it for you if you want to list 3 of your favorite wins, maybe, and how you achieved it, or what advice you'd give to someone else to achieve it. I know it's very, very hard to list wins when you're like, oh fuck, it's not that good, or it's not that great. List 3 of your favorite things that you've achieved over the last. It doesn't even have to be in your time in the Mulligan's method. It could be whenever. Last 3 wins over the last however long.
Biggest one, body confidence.
Sick.
So realizing I didn't need a beach body to wear a bikini. I can wear what the hell I like, and if you don't like what you see, then look elsewhere, mate. It's not my problem anymore. I've spent so many years on holiday covering up, sweltering, thinking, oh, I can't show my arms, I can't show my legs, I can't, you know. And now just to go out in shorts and a vest and just, it's absolutely incredible. And I never thought, and that call just, it did turn on a penny for me for that. But I'm hoping it would happen for most people, that you just realise, do you know what, if this isn't a practice run, and we're not here really for a very long time, and am I really going to cover up? Am I really going to spend my life thinking, oh my God, they can see my cellulite? Thinking, oh, I just don't look at it then. Do you know what I mean? So that's a huge, huge, huge. I know a couple of months ago I was out for a pint. Well, I was out for a walk with my son, with my eldest, and he said, "You've got a t-shirt on," and I said, "Yes." He said,
That.
"Yeah, you never wear a t-shirt out," but I hadn't even thought about it. I hadn't thought, I'm going to put a t-shirt on and fuck everyone. If they don't want to look at me, fine. I was just sitting there thinking, shit, didn't even think about it. I did have a knockback this week in my denim shorts. I could see some looks, which really, I was like, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
But I thought, no, I can't. I'm on holiday. I've paid money to come on this holiday. No fucking way. Because there's always going to be people who are going to criticise you or have something to say, and just let them do it. Let them, I say, and move on.
Biggest thing, because you're living your life for you, not for anyone else. I remember
Absolutely.
it's so funny. I remember all of your body image wins because they have been the biggest highlights within the group. Like out of the whole entire group, all time would have been last around May time. You went away, and
In June.
yeah. I remember that one, and then I remember the one in it wasn't it was in the pub. Because you posted about it. But it goes to show balance. Everything is in balance. So it's just fucking class. But again, with body image, people think that they should absolutely love the way they look. And actually, one of my goals with hopefully most people within the group is just to get you to forget about how you look. If that's the biggest thing that I could possibly do for
And
somebody.
that, do you know what? That's absolutely, you've absolutely nailed it there. Because I don't look in the mirror and think, oh God, yeah, I look amazing. I just think, well, this is how I look at the moment, and fine, it's bloody 23 degrees or whatever. I'm not going out covering up. I'm not. And it is, and I appreciate at the same time, it's a very, very difficult. I mean, I went from covering up to going on holiday and wearing bikinis, and I hadn't worn a bikini for like 25, 30 years. And even when I was a size 12, I was like, oh, God, no. Myself. Insanity, because of other people who I will never see again. And I don't think there would be anybody, I'd be very surprised if anybody on that beach from Spain last year is sitting down with a glass of wine with their husband or wife tonight going, remember that girl we saw in that black bikini? Who's doing that?
Yeah.
Nobody's doing that. They've forgotten it.
This is
Even if they did look and think, oh, she's not really bikini beach body, they probably forgot about it 2 minutes later.
try to think
So,
back when you were last on holiday, 5 faces that you remember from your last holiday. I can't even think of 5 faces that I remember from being in New York last week. Not a fucking chance. So
right.
think of that from your last, like, that's what I always say. It's so funny because we all live in almost a Truman Show where we think everything revolves around us and everybody's looking at us all the time, and all, no one really gives a fuck. If you think about even last week when you were shopping, like when you were shopping, do you remember any of the people that you met? Maybe the
No.
cashier you handed the money to. Do you remember the way this person looked in a certain pair of clothes or the way their belly? No, you won't even fucking think about it. And it is
No.
that, it was just trying to forget. And again, I think it's important to recognize there as well, where you said you did have a little bit of a bump in the body image side of things there, and someone looking at you or whatever the fuck it was, some stupid cunt anyways. But with that side of things, it's normal. Like sometimes I'll not feel too great about the way I am. That's okay. And it's just like, it doesn't overwhelm me. It doesn't stop me from doing things. It doesn't stop me from being on my Instagram helping people out. It doesn't stop me from creating videos. Long ago it did. It really impacted my thing, because I made my body image everything. I went to the gym for the sake of having bigger arms or looking bigger on Instagram or being bigger for my job or whatever sort of way it was, and losing body fat became everything that I wanted to do. Once I lost that, and I didn't want to I didn't put my image or my body as the primary focus. Like even on my Instagram, it's very hard to find pictures of me on my Instagram of just my body out and posing, because I don't really give a fuck. It's not something I highlight about myself. I don't want people, the first thing they think of Oisin being like, oh, Oisin has abs or Oisin is this person. Neither do any E. The first thing you want someone to think about when they think of you is probably, look, I'm a kind person, I'm a sound friend, I'll speak to people, I'll be there for them. That's what I want people to think. And if that's what you want people to think, well then your body has fuck all got to do with that. But yeah, super fucking key. Yeah, any final words for everybody before we fuck off?
Just, this is a key one actually.
Let's go.
When it comes to exiting the group,
yes,
make sure you're ready. And I say that because I thought I was ready. Maybe August, September, I'd come back from my holiday, and I was like, yeah, with bikinis, yeah, I'm, whatever, I'm in the gym, blah blah blah. And then life happens, shit happens, and I tell you what, you can just be thrown straight back to square one. So that, if I had to give a key bit of information to the guys in the group, that that's been so crucial to me. Not give it some time and make sure, because life was just like yeah, and then it's like, oh fuck, it moved. Oh no, and I was just emotional eating, and I hid from the group. That's another thing. I know you asked for one. That's two now.
Yeah.
Don't. I was like, oh, I'll just do like a quick little check in. Everything's fine. Yeah. Sent that in. No. Look, the group is there for a reason, and even if you're not in the group, I would say just reach out to people. Do not hide. If you're struggling, do not hide. Just whatever the struggles may be, whether it's food related, whether it's mental, whatever it is, do not hide. And seems so easy, but it just makes it so much harder for yourself in the long run. So that's what I would say. Just make sure you are ready to exit, and don't hide if you're struggling.
I think a lot of the thing, especially with programs or whatever it might be that someone is doing, they expect to not face struggle. So when they face struggle, that's an exit point, being like, oh fuck, I'm just going to give up altogether. Fuck this, I can't do it. When actually facing the struggle is such a key part of everything. If you're joining the program or whether you are just doing weight loss yourself and you're struggling with something, it's a point for you to learn. You should be looking at that as something that you can, okay, fuck it, I'm really struggling with eating at the weekends. How can I learn to not overeat at the weekends? Or how can I learn to get over this bump? Because if you see it as that, you'll make progress. If you don't and you give up or even leaving the group, there was no point in making that initial investment in the first place, because you've just pissed it all away, essentially.
That's it. Expect failure, because we're human. So I say failure, it's probably not the right word, but expect dips. Expect the dips. You're going to fuck up a bit, but expect that, and just take that and think, right, well, what did I do right there then? How can I improve from that? How can I not do that again, or do it to a lesser extent, which is what I've done with the emotional eating. So, I'm always going to emotionally eat and maybe drink. But other than that, it's just like, I won't drink the whole bottle tonight. Yeah. I'll tell you that on camera.
And that's why I say to people, because I want to because if I'm a coach and I'm like, you're not meant to fail, you're meant to do this, right? It looks unbelievable on my Instagram when I go and fucking post these unbelievable results. But I'd rather let people know, look, and what would actually happen is a certain percentage would get unbelievable results, and everybody else would just fuck off and not get any results whatsoever, which is exactly what I'm against. Because everybody, I just want to know that, like, if you're struggling, it's meant to happen. Don't feel like a failure because of it, and that allows you to be able to reach out to me for help as well. Yeah, super key points there. I think people can rush away from calorie tracking and a sort of program once they start making progress, and then when they face struggle, they don't have that support there when they really kind of need it. And that's a biggest mistake that a lot of people make. And like, it might sound like I try to keep people within the program for a long period of time. It's not my goal. My goal is to get people to a position to get them to fuck off. Actually, I probably promote that a little bit too much, because then people feel like they're rushed off. I don't want people to go. Like, people can stay as long as they want. I absolutely love every fucking single one of the people that are within the group. But I think even this relates outside of that, even to calorie tracking and stuff. It's very easy to just bin it off early, because like, oh, I'm making progress now. And then what happens is you face a little bit struggle, you end up regaining, or you end up kind of falling into poorer habits, and then it's harder to get back at it, harder to get back forward. And in the unlucky situation with the Mulligan's method, because there is so many people on the waiting list, it makes it more difficult for me to be able to get those people back in if they are struggling. Or even for people, again, relating it back to my fitness pal and that side of things, when you fall out of a routine of something and you've made progress and you renege on progress, it's actually less likely that you'll go back and do it again, because of that so-called failure that we kind of see. But yeah, two massively key points. Anyways, we'll finish it up, because I don't want to keep you much longer. You have to be able to enjoy your glass of wine, and everybody else here is probably sick of me talking shit. But one of the main things is, make sure you go over and follow Kat on Get Fit After 50. You'll find her if you go to my Instagram. I'll actually probably put up a clip of this podcast and have you collaboration post on it, so people can click straight on if they do want to click on.